Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
Murders within murders within murders.
Is that plans within plans?
Would there be Dune references? Probably. Is that because Jose Ferrer is in this episode? You're goddamn right it is.
The Padishah Emperor himself,
Exactly.
Shaddam the Fourth, yes.
Praise be, praise be.
We are talking about the 6th episode of the 3rd season of Columbo, Mind Over Mayhem, directed by Alf Kjellin, I guess is how you would say this gentleman's name, from a story by Robert Specht, teleplay by Stephen Bochco, Dean Hargrove, and Roland Kibbe. This episode aired originally February 10th, 1974. It is the story of I guess he's leader of a think tank here, Marshall Cahill, which is hilarious for me to say because of the John Wayne film, which has almost the exact same name. And I guess that's where they got the name of Marshall Cahill.
One such man was J.D. Cahill.
United States Marshal.
John Wayne. Cahill, United States Marshal.
Jose Ferrer, he's a big brain working at big old brain trust. And yeah, his kid, not as motivated scholastically as maybe he should be, and he stole some stuff. He stole the formula for molecular matter. Don't drink that beer, Tad. That's molecular acid. Yeah, it sounds so phony and made up. Almost as phony as MM7, Robbie the Robot, who takes his place in the annals of robot history. Of course, we've seen Robbie the Robot many times, but yeah, he's almost an accomplice to this murder of Lou Ayres as Howard Nicholson, who was going to expose the whole plagiarism thing. And boy, let me tell you, people do not like to have their plagiarism exposed. I will tell you that from personal experience. Chris, what did you think of Mind Over Mayhem?
I think I alluded to it the last time we did an episode that I've seen this episode a lot. I don't know why. It's just, I had been just watching ahead, and this is the one that I feel like I was awake for most of the time. So I've seen this episode like 5 or 6 times at least awake, and then probably 2 or 3 more times just like in and out of it. There's some weird anachronisms in this episode that would not be there otherwise. Namely, Robbie the Robot in a way that it's so obvious and they're not even trying to hide it. Here's the thing. Obviously, we're watching this in 2024, and this episode came out in 74, so 50 years ago. Lost in Space is where Robbie the Robot comes from, right? Or am I thinking of something else?
I believe Forbidden Planet. I don't think that was Robbie in Lost in Space, though there are similarities. I was expecting the arms to start going around and danger, danger.
This is the robot from Forbidden Planet. That movie came out in 56, almost 20 years after this episode comes out. I guess I'm just wondering, are people going to recognize it from Forbidden Planet, be like, oh, look at that thing? Or are they going to go, that's just a robot? It's such a weird thing to have in this episode. Again, now in 2024, it feels weird. In 74, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I think that obviously the core of this story is Jose Ferrer and his on-screen son, played by Robert Walker Jr., and I think they're great together. I think Jose Ferrer is good in this episode. I think his son is great. I think the real problem, and I think you'll probably echo this as well, and Columbo says as much, like, this motherfucker is guilty the moment Columbo. Dude, shit's over before it even starts with you, ding dong. And he makes himself the obvious killer the moment Columbo meets him, because Columbo says as much at the end of the episode. He's like, I wasn't paying attention to anything other than whether or not there was a cigar smoker in the house. And this guy's lighting a cigar 2 seconds into the moment Columbo meets him. If you use that information as, again, Columbo being honest, he knew it was Jose Ferrer 2 seconds in. But you know what? Jose Ferrer should have known he knew it was him, because the way he treats him in this episode is like he's guilty from the moment he meets him. And Jose Ferrer acts guilty from the moment he meets him. It's, in a lot of ways, this is similar to some of the other episodes we've seen where it's, I dare you to figure out how I did this, is more or less the kind of the proceedings of the bulk of the episode is, if I did it, catch me. If I did it, show me how I did it, because it wasn't there. Someone has to man the computer. And if it wasn't me, who was it? Because I'm the only one who can do it. And of course, we have a precocious little shit of a child giving away the big twist of the episode. But I like the idea of these kinds of episodes. I feel like maybe your mileage will vary with this dickhead is trying to one over on Columbo, which never goes well for anyone either. There is that fact that has to be internalized as the audience at this point. There is no way this guy's going to get away with it. No matter how many intricate hoops he makes Columbo jump through, Columbo will jump through all those hoops. He will do it. And yeah, I don't know. I like this episode, but I can 100% see how this episode would wear thin immediately. Want to know what your thoughts are, because you let it slip last time that maybe you're not the biggest fan of this episode.
I agree with you. Columbo knows immediately who the killer is, and the rest of the time he's just fucking with him.
You're batting him around.
Yeah, I liked seeing Jose Ferrer humiliated in this episode. At least that's how I feel, because he's talking down to Columbo, who is this weird little guy, and I run this whole think tank, and got big important business with the Pentagon, running these war games and all this stuff, and he just thinks that he's king shit. And then the rest of the episode is just Columbo just oh yeah, you're super smart, oh boy, oh yes sir,
give him what he wants. That's the thing. And we've seen that with a lot of other Columbo villains, where Columbo is just placating their fucking fragile egos. And if anything, for me, Columbo in so many ways is about fragile male egos who can't deal with things being fucked over by, again, someone who theoretically just should have as much of an ego as they do, but doesn't. That's the other thing we never find out is, like, Columbo seems, and we've talked about it in Barney Miller, and I think Bear mentioning here, like, Columbo feels like such a alien in the show. And it was in a way that like Arthur Dietrich feels like an alien in Barney Miller. And you never get the sense, like, you get more of a sense with Arthur Dietrich than you do with Columbo. Does he enjoy this? Does he enjoy putting people behind bars? And there's fucking entire prisons full of people that Columbo has interred in their like long-term holdings. Because some of these people are going away for a long time, if not forever. And you never get the sense that Columbo enjoys it. This is something that he enjoys doing. It's just a job for him. I feel it's interesting to not see him get into these arguments of who's smarter with these people, because it feels like they're constantly trying to bait him into it. And he's just like, oh, no, you're right. You're so smart. And I feel like that's worse in the long term, because Columbo knows he's going to snare him at the end anyway. So give them what they want. Let them hang themselves, right? That's always been Columbo's thing, is they're just, most of the time, these people are given enough rope to hang themselves with. And he finds them hanging in the wind, and he's not the one who tightened the noose. They normally are.
So this one is weird, to jump right to the end of the episode, that he has to use a frame up of the son in order to get the father to confess, because the father loves his son so much.
I'm trying to remember if we've seen this yet on the show, and we haven't seen this specifically. I'm trying to remember if we've seen a father and son duo. We've seen the son. What was Roddy McDowell doing? Something like this?
That was his uncle, James Gregory. Or was it his uncle? I think James Gregory was his uncle.
So we haven't seen this specifically yet. And I liked it. I like the idea of this son who is so unable to please his just high standards dickhead father that it has affected him emotionally and again, it's not said outright that this is what's going on. And this is just me inferring. Him going to Jessica Walters, oh my God, Jessica Walters, right? She's in this episode, I'm assuming, because he's going to her because of his father doing what he did to him, trying to break the toxic bonds of that relationship. And again, we don't get the sense of that. We just hear that he has been going to therapy. And if your father was Jose Ferrer, you too might go to therapy. At least the way that he's portrayed in this episode, he's a tough customer. And he's a tough customer to the point where he murders the person who's going to out his son for falsifying, or I guess falsely attributing this molecular, whatever fucking red ass MacGuffin, the reddest of red herrings, the MacGuffinest of MacGuffin. Yeah, to the point where it's so fakey in this episode. It's like the fakiest of fakey. He kills someone because he loves his son so much. But the fucked up thing is, he could never tell his son he loves him, right? But he murders for him. And so it's that weird interplay, because then I feel like he realizes very quickly what Columbo is doing, which is framing his own son. And I guess that's the step that's too far for Jose Ferrer. But I do like that there is a moment of intellectual chicken between these two people, between Columbo and Jose Ferrer, that again, we haven't seen. We've seen it if Jose Ferrer was having it done to him and then he would admit it, but we've never seen Columbo doing it to someone else. And then the person who has done it is also in the room watching it happen.
He does fake outs, even all the way back to the Gene Barry episode. But yeah, not quite this far, where he is willing to arrest someone falsely. I'm always amazed on Law and Order, just how often they do false arrests. I would think that the courts are just completely backed up with the people that they throw in jail at the 20-minute mark, because they never get their person until the 40-minute mark, and then the trial begins.
I feel like it's a little illegal. What he's doing is not great, and frankly, we've literally seen cases where there has been suspected cop framing. I don't want to mention To Make a Murder, Making a Murder, that fucking show that everyone couldn't shut the fuck up about for 6 months. But that was one where there was allegedly cops framing people. So it's weird because, again, and we have to struggle through this, you and I. These shows are very cop friendly, cop positive, and sometimes it's police officers behaving badly. And I'm not saying Columbo's behaving badly, but I think Columbo is flexing the law about as far as it can go. And again, he gets his man in the end. But imagine, if you will, someone less ego-free than our dear friend Columbo, and someone more egotistical, looking to just frame people because of the color of their skin. That's all I'm saying. It's just it's positive here only because we understand that it's fictional and the ends justify the means, but like it doesn't feel great. Just like watching Naked Gun and all of a sudden they have a tank and they're just rolling through houses. It's man. It's funny, but at the same time, it's not funny.
Yeah, I'm glad that Columbo is doing it for good as opposed to evil, because he does have to be very careful with those powers that he has.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We've seen him do this before where entrapment is what it's called. It has a fucking name in the law. It's a thing. All those people on To Catch a Predator, so many of them did not go to jail because it was fucking entrapment. And Columbo does similar things in this show. Again, you get a confession out of the person, but again, to what end, my friend? And also, how much of that, if they hired a lawyer, is just not coercion? Coercion. Again, that's all I'm saying. We joke about all these people in prison because of Columbo, but I do think so many of these people that Columbo gets probably would not sit in jail for more than... They'd never go to prison. They'd probably just be in jail for a week or two.
You mentioned the precocious child, and we would be remiss not to talk about Senor Spielbergo, the Mexican equivalent of Steven Spielberg.
Steve Spielberg!
Steve Spielberg, and they definitely make sure you know his name is Steve Spielberg throughout this whole episode.
His name should have been Steve Fableman. Again, if we're going to just mythologize someone, it's supposed to be Steve. I don't understand why. I know he directed an episode of this show, but...
Almost two.
Yeah, that's true. But isn't that weird? There's no way that was unintentional.
Oh, no, that had to be intentional. And then I don't know if it's supposed to be a loving tribute or look at how obnoxious this kid is, and he's just as obnoxious as Steven Spielberg is. I think it's supposed to be a tribute, but it doesn't fly for me because this kid is just a little shitheel for me so much of this episode. No fault of the actor or anything, and where I think we're supposed to like him, but you throw a little kid into anything, especially a precocious child who is so much smarter than everybody else. You go, oh, yeah, I wanted to become a policeman, but I was too smart. Oh, okay. Way to put your foot in it there, Junior.
I don't know in what universe this kind of character is ever one that anybody's excited to see. I understand on the page that this makes sense, but every time I see a child in a show like this where he's meant is from this time, mind you, 70s and 80s, when they're supposed to be like a smart child, it's like they overdo it to the point of this child is a child genius and he's 12 years old and he's the equivalent of like fucking Harvard. And it's like, what? This is, I get that this was the time where, we're really beginning to understand that children aren't just fucking morons that just sit in a corner and drool on themselves. Isn't that great? Again, if that was your assumption all along, okay, sure. But as an adult who does not feel that way about children any more than I know you do, this is the kind of thing that you get when you get people who think that way. Is just like, this precocious fucking child is so dialed in that he feels like more of an adult than the adults do in the episode. And that's why it's a precocious fucking kid. Because like you said, not the actor's fault. The writing is just... The writing was bad and is bad. And to be honest, I think writing for kids in TV has come a long way, especially writing for kids in a show that isn't about kids. And I know, to your point, maybe just don't have them. And I would agree, because there's nothing about this role that needed to be played by a child. It could have been played by like a young adult, like a teenager even. And I think if it was played by a teenager, it would have been a little bit more believable. I'm glad that we're seemingly past the days of this is a child genius, but yet Young Sheldon is still a TV show that's immensely fucking popular. So maybe I'm wrong with Middle America, but I feel like, again, there's no way you watch this episode and you walk away from it going, oh, that kid's not fucking annoying, because he is. And again, like you've mentioned, he holds everything over everybody else's head, like Columbo. He's like, oh, I'm so smart, and this is this and this. No, he's talking down to Columbo constantly. Chill, dude. Chill out. Chill out, 10-year-old or however old you're supposed to be.
And I guess there's even a remake of Doogie Howser that's going on right now. Or maybe it got canceled, but there was a remake of Doogie Howser where it was a young female doctor who was so super smart that she became a regular doctor. And there was that one with Freddie Highmore too. I think that's still going on.
The good doctor.
Yes, as opposed to the bad doctor.
Yeah, that Doogie Howser sequel was Doogie Kumealoa, MD. and it ran for 2 years on Disney, and it is no longer running. So there you go. I was never into those kinds of shows. Like that was never something that moved the needle for me. And I guess I don't understand why it would for anybody else, but I know that the show is immensely popular and Neil Patrick Harris has been haunting us since.
Thank God for that. I love Neil Patrick Harris now. I don't know about during the Doogie days. I didn't watch that show. I didn't watch the Wonder Years, but I definitely loved some Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, I was one of those people that liked Neil Patrick Harris for a while, but he's not my cup of tea anymore. He's just, I don't know. He's always himself, which is perfectly fine. I just don't necessarily resonate with it anymore. But I understand why that kind of role does, and that's why we get something like this, which is, again, a very early predecessor to an entire show based on this kind of character, right? Because Doogie Howser's a teenage doctor who's super smart, right? So this kid's on that track already. I don't think we needed that character in this episode. I think we could have done without. I think we could have done like we had in those other episodes, like the one with the projectionist, where we just had another character in a scene with Columbo, because oh God, the guy from Fletch, the guy from Spaceballs. Remember when he's like showing Columbo the imagery and he's like, oh, this is how it works. But like, we didn't have 5 scenes with him. We had 1, and that was more than enough. And he didn't overstay his welcome. And that's how you do it with this show, unless they're one of the main characters. Because that's the other thing. The kid, he gives away what the twist is. Oh, the robot is able to do it. But other than that, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't add anything to the episode other than taking away time from, again, I think some pretty good back and forth with Jessica Walter and the actor who plays Jose Ferrer's son. I like their scenes together too. Again, it's a little overwritten, but I still think those parts of the episode are fine.
I guess we need the kid to be taken out by the motor pool guy so that then Jose Ferrer can steal the car and claim that and then like back into the car with his own car and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that could have been taken care of by just office hours, and that this all takes place at night. So that guy shouldn't be working anyway.
And second episode in a row now where we've had people claiming fake car crashes to validate their alibis. Because wasn't that Jack Cassidy's thing as well? Oh, those people. Oh, so you started remembering all of a sudden? Oh, my memory's a little less foggy. I was expecting Jose Ferrer to do that this episode. Like they got right to that moment again. He's like, oh, it wasn't me. Yeah, it's weird. And again, like all of this seems to suit nothing because Columbo knows it's Jose Ferrer just from the cigar. Nothing else proves that it was Jose Ferrer to Columbo. He even goes, I knew from the first 10 minutes I was in there. It's like, then why not just catch him right there?
But instead, Columbo gets off on it, I think.
I guess he must. If he truly knew from the moment he walks in there because of the cigar and match, which like, again, feels like such a fucking oversight for Jose Ferrer, who's, again, like, he's not that. He is well thought out, but at the same time, he's like carrying a dead body and smudging the wall. It's, I don't know, like for as smart as you are, you're not very good at keeping a clean crime scene. But that ends up like none of it matters, which really bugs me with Columbo when nothing else matters. And it was just this one small detail. But the fact that Columbo says it in this episode just irks me a little bit because he's never said like, 10 minutes in, I knew it was you. He's never said that before. They could have said that at any point in this show already. They have multiple chances for Columbo to be like, I've known since the first 2 seconds, and they haven't. How do you feel about that?
He has almost said that when he talks about the letters, like, why did you open your mail when your brother had died and all these things with that Susan Clark episode, or there's another one too, where he just walked in and pretty much knew right away what was going on. That happens so often. But yeah, he's never really thrown that in somebody's face. And I like that he's throwing it in Jose Ferrer's face just because he is such a smarty pants. He's not rich. We've talked about the rich getting their just desserts. He's not overly rich, but he just is so full of himself that I really kind of like Columbo rubbing his face in it.
Yeah, I think it works here only because of that. Because again, Jose Ferrer is just so content with, I got him, and there's no way you can prove it. There have been few villains in this show who have everybody deserves it, but they rarely waggle it as hard as this guy is. Again, like Columbo knew in the first 10 minutes, not just because of the cigar, but also because this guy just like is such a dickhead. And that's the thing. Jose Ferrer is a perfect dickhead in this episode, but not, I don't know, not abrasive. He's just one of those people. Like, we've all met someone like this who everything they say is he just proves that he's a dickhead. It's not like he goes out of his way to be a dickhead. He's just a dickhead, I think, through and through. From the fact that his son can never please him to the fact that he like literally talks down to everyone all the time. I don't think that he's different with anybody the way he is with the people that we see. I think he's just a dick to everybody, which, to your point, yeah, if anyone deserves to have their face rubbed in it, it's this guy. And again, like the amount of theatrics that Columbo goes through at the end of the episode, I think, again, that in and of itself is a pretty big indicator of what Columbo thinks of this guy. But to be fair, they share a cigar at the end of the episode. So Columbo also gives him kind of a weird moment together. And that's the thing. I ultimately feel like Jose Ferrer's character is maybe the most sympathetic villain we've seen in the show so far. That scene at the end sharing the cigar is, I think, rather well done. But as much of a dickhead as he is, I do think he comes off as sympathetic because at the end of the day, you understand why he's doing what he's doing. Even if, again, it's some level of cognitive dissonance because his son did what his son did because of who his dad is, because he's such a tough customer.
Well, I'm glad that his son finally stands up to him and that his son outs himself, which is great. And when he goes to Jessica Walter, just what should I do? And she's can't tell you what to do, but this is what I would do. He finally does the right thing, which is what you got to do. I was very appreciative of that. Like the whole relationship of Jessica Walter being both the guy who is the wife to the guy who gets murdered, who is going to out the son, as well as the son's therapist. That felt a little weird to me that she was in that role between those two men.
Conflict of interest.
How does
maybe?
she feel about her husband trying to out her own patient? That just seems so bizarre.
That's not really mined a whole lot. Similarly to the kid, it feels like an intricacy of this episode that's unneeded because it doesn't go anywhere. That's the thing. Like, it's so much Columbo and Jose Ferrer back and forth that like everything else feels unimportant and everything else feels like just, again, if you say I knew in the first 10 minutes, you really make everything else seem unimportant. There's a really weird, speaking of just like weird interactions, there's a weird scene where Columbo is talking to Jose Ferrer in the lab, and then he calls Jose Ferrer's son, and then Jose Ferrer is just in that scene too. And it's like, where the fucking guy just left this scene? And now he's in this scene. He's like, Columbo, I thought I told you to leave. And it's, is this what it's so, it feels like there's stuff missing in this episode is what I'm saying. It feels like they misedited something at some point, or they cut a scene out. But do you know what I'm talking about? This like weird, he like Jose Ferrer's there in the scene, he leaves, and then Columbo calls his son, and then he's just in that room too. Did he teleport there? What is going on? Because again, Jose Ferrer is ever present in this episode for the most part, unless it's Columbo and the kid or Columbo and Jessica Walters in one scene. It's pretty much Jose Ferrer and Columbo for the most part.
Apparently, they did know that the story was weak, according to, I believe it was the David Koenig book. He was talking about how the producers were afraid, probably Dean Hargrove was afraid that people wouldn't be interested in this one because it was such an easy open and shut case with that damn match. And so then it became Bochco and the other writers, their job to obfuscate things and to make this more of a mystery. But I don't know if they did it justice. I don't know if they took it far enough. The thing is, though, like you were asking at the beginning, what do I think of this episode? It's a fun ride, even if it doesn't hold together all the way.
I feel like it's one of those rides where you go on it once and you're like, oh, that was fun. And then the second and third or fourth time you go on, it's fine. It's not as fun as it was the first time. I think, again, having seen this episode so many times, I don't know, I still enjoy it every time I've seen it. I still find something to enjoy. Again, the things that I want to enjoy, there still aren't enough of because there are other things that have gotten in the way of it. Jose Ferrer and his son are great. Jose Ferrer and Columbo are great. But Jose Ferrer and that kid, not great. Actually, Jose Ferrer and the person he kills, the other scientist, he's not great either. They don't really have a lot of chemistry together. And I guess they don't have to, given what the one character is telling the other, I'm going to out your son, so fucking deal with it, asshole. I don't get the sense of a pre-existing relationship. I don't get the sense that this is either one of them at the end of their rope. I understand why Jose Ferrer is going to kill him. But again, I feel like everybody at the Institute, just given the way Jose Ferrer talks about him, given the way Jose Ferrer treats him when he walks into his office, if there's someone who killed him, it's this guy. End of story. Like you said, it's hard to find this episode as anything other than, it's fun, but don't think too hard. Otherwise, it starts to fall apart. And yeah, it's a fun ride, but I think, I don't know, that can get you somewhere with an hour and 13 minutes. There have been worse episodes of Columbo that we've seen for sure. The amount of obfuscation they do isn't even enough, even though they spend like an hour doing it. It's still not enough because, again, you have Columbo going, I knew it was you 10 minutes in. It's guys, just take that line out. Just take the line out. Really, ultimately is the cigar and the match that catches him. We've seen that with Columbo before, where it is, and we talked about this before, the thing with, was it like a contact in the back of the car? Like all these things, all these places you could have gone and you went there perfectly fine. It's maybe the one thing we weren't expecting to be the thing that catches him, but you did it anyways. In this, it's not only is it the first thing that Columbo says, this is the thing that catches him. So everything else becomes just Columbo taking this guy and doing what he wants with him. So again, like if you are cool with that up front, you're going to enjoy this episode. But yeah, to your point, like there's so much obfuscation that it doesn't even succeed, no matter how much they do, no matter how like they have a false ending essentially where they walk off with his son and he's like, wait a second. It's like, he's just waiting outside the door for you. There's no way this was going anywhere for real.
There are some things about this one I like a lot, which is one of them is the introduction of Columbo in this episode, where it's the guy from the obedience school basically telling him that his son, quote unquote, is such a bad performer. And this is the first episode, as far as I remember, that Columbo mentions having kids, because he says that he's got 2 kids or multiple kids because it's plural. So at least 2, if not more. But yeah, you think that one of his children is in trouble, but it's Dog. Dog is back. And actually, this is a different dog. The original dog died. And so this is a new dog. And you can tell he's not nearly as big as the old dog. And apparently they had to add gray makeup to his muzzle to make him look older.
Keep the screen accuracy of this old dog. I like that the dog is here throughout the episode because you can see him trailing behind Columbo in a lot of the scenes. I found that to be amusing. They don't do anything with it really, other than that opening joke, which I mean is funny. That is a good little kind of misdirect with the dog, because we know Columbo's a big dog lover. The John Cassavetes episode opened with him at the vet with his dog, and there are no weird extraneous scenes in this episode. I was waiting for one of those scenes that we've been talking about where there's just weird interactions between Columbo and like an outside character. There's not really any of that. Everything serves the narrative. There's no Columbo meeting with 2 cops in the middle of the street where they spend 10 minutes wasting everyone's time is what it feels like. There's none of that. This is a pretty zippy episode, I feel like, for the most part.
It's so amazing to me how far policing has come over the last 50 years, where it's, you look at an episode like this and the guy who's dusting for prints doesn't even notice the smudge on the wall, and Columbo's, oh, what is this? And I swear he fucking tastes it. If he doesn't taste it, he takes a big old whiff of this shoe polish and just, oh, shoe polish. And then the other guy's, what? Huh? It turns around, does the same thing, takes a big old wipe of it. This guy definitely sniffs it. And I'm just like, no, you got to take the little samples, take a photograph and label it. And even when it comes to the matchstick, like Columbo has the matchstick, he's carrying it around. I'm like, and even the pipe, I'm like, where's the chain of evidence with this stuff, man? You can't just like be carrying around this pipe. It doesn't make any sense.
It does if you're a dirty fucking cop like Columbo. That's the show that I would write, where it's just the the antithesis of Columbo, just a bad cop planting evidence on innocent people. that's the Shield, right? Isn't that the fucking shit?
Orson Welles from Touch of Evil, yeah.
Columbo is right there. He's 3/4 of the way there. He's just not using his powers for evil. He's using them for good. Here, I've got this kid of this guy. I'm going to plant this evidence on it. What the fuck? Yeah. That's, again, like, that's Columbo could have gotten this guy's son to go to jail for a very long time. And there's only one person standing in the way, and that's Columbo. Even if the guy admits to it, Columbo could be like, I don't believe you. Sorry. Again, like, that's to your point. Columbo works for good, and we're all thankful that he's on the side of good, because otherwise, like you said, he's planting evidence on a bunch of rich people. Maybe it's not the end of the world.
Flicking that pearl into the umbrella and everything.
Really good at marbles, okay? Good old Columbo. Hey, you know what? As long as we get the moment of him sharing a cigar with his old pal Jose Ferrer at the end, I'm okay with it. That maybe is the moment of this episode where I was like, oh, okay, this is like you and your buddies type thing, which, I mean, I'm glad they give him that moment. It's weird because we haven't really seen that with any other killer where Columbo, like, is commiserating with them.
Oh, yeah, we have. Don't forget Any Old Port in the Storm. That drink with Carsini at the end, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. If it's trying to emulate that, I don't know. Carsini is, he's pretty sympathetic, but I don't know. The way Carsini kills his brother is pretty fucked up. I'm not saying that like, killing people's not fucked up, period, but the way this guy kills him is he runs him over with a car. Okay, he's not putting him in a vault and letting him die slowly over a week, which is still beyond fucked up. Way more fucked up than they make it seem in the episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love that this episode has a couple of Star Trek people in here. You've got the guy from the motor pool. He was in at least one episode of Star Trek. And then Robert Evans Jr., right, I think did he play Charlie X or just Charlie Evans? Star Trek, but that's mostly where I know him from. And I kept getting him mixed up with the guy who played Spider-Man in the old TV movies of Spider-Man, or TV show, I should say. But he just has those same kind of striking eyes, but he's definitely has different bone structure, so it's not the same guy.
You say it's Star Trek, but also Arthur Benedictus was also in a lot of the Police Academy movies.
Yeah, he's got a great look, and I really like that scene with fucking dog going crazy. And just, I'm like, did they add those barks in post, or did they actually try to record this scene with the dog barking like crazy? It feels like it must have been done in post, because the dog isn't even visible most of the time. Every time they cut to him barking, it's like a medium shot of him.
Apparently they're very stubborn dogs, so being the way it is at the boarding school is rather believable. That's what my wife said. She's like, that's the way these dogs are. I was like, I didn't know that. Basset Hound, guess so. Makes sense why Columbo has one. He's pretty stubborn.
And plus that whole thing of how they're supposed to be able to smell really well, and it's the really appropriate dog for Columbo.
I think it's funny that this episode opens with him at the boarding school. Again, will the dog show up like this more in the show? I'm assuming so.
I think this might be the first dog of season 3. Nice to have him back. And I like that we don't have him in so many episodes. He's just more of a Columbo got stuck taking him to school or something, other than, oh yeah, I take this dog with me everywhere I go.
What about Columbo at Murder at the Dog School? That's not a thing.
It should be. It should be. There should be a whole thing. There are some trained dogs in a later season that we'll see, and that's one of my favorite episodes. But yeah, I don't think the dog himself makes an appearance in that episode. But yeah, Columbo, the animal lover. He knows how to deprogram those dogs, but he doesn't know how to program his own dog.
And he doesn't know how to program a robot, but it does give us a great line. I think something just computed.
Yes, that was great.
Oh God, I love those on Peacock. Those like pre-episode teasers are funny.
Oh, yes.
because they more or less give away the goddamn episode all at once. It's just like, I know where this fucking episode's going already. But yeah, that something just computed is that's a great Columbo one-liner for sure.
I love this whole thing of him now using the tape recorder because I could never find my pencil. Sometimes I couldn't even find my pen. Now he's going through all the pockets and stuff. And I love how he just keeps playing the recorder and he'll just repeat what he said on the recorder. It's like, why did the father protect the son? You know?
Well, I love how he also uses it to like needle Jose Ferrer, which is also great. Like just playing it, just to be like, just so you know, motherfucker, I'm on to you. just so you know.
Columbo is in rare form in this episode. Just all the little ticks and all these things. The looking down, he's got the finger waggling, and then it just does the thing over his mouth. He'll hold his hand over his mouth. He's so filled with ticks in this episode, and I love it.
Yeah, he's peak Columbo. I like I said, as much as I maybe don't like the trappings of the narrative, I do like him in this episode quite a bit.
I do love when Jose Ferrer calls in his little assistant guy, and the guy comes in and he's just so nervous, and he's just like, oh, you're not accusing me of a crime. He's like, no, you're all set. Because he does that like twice in this episode. Not only does he do it to the little assistant guy, but then he also does it to Jessica Walter as well. He's just, no, you're not a suspect. He just totally tries to allay their fears because he knows who it is. And I love how he even like looks at Jose Ferrer as he's lighting a fucking cigar when he's just like, no, you're okay. You're all right.
No, I love that. Because again, like it's just more of the needling.
Oh yeah, that guy's way too short. Not only is Falk talking about how short this guy is, but he's bent over as he's talking to Ferrer to make him look even taller than he is.
He's going for it in this episode big time.
Despite all of the grousing and stuff, there are some incredible moments to this and just some wonderful Peter Falk. Obviously, this show can be as great or as not great as it wants to be, but when Falk is on, I'll take whatever adventure he's in.
I agree with you 100%. And that, I think that speaks volumes to this show. And again, like this episode in a lot of ways should not have worked, but it worked for me more than it should have. And clearly, I'm glad to hear it wasn't the dud you were expecting it to be. At least not in traditional terms.
No, it's just not one I go back to all the time. It's not one where I'm just like, oh, great, this one. Oh, I can't wait to see it. If I just remind myself how great Falk is in this, then I'll be more excited. But yeah, just the story itself and some of the things like, okay. It's really funny. I was reading, so I read through all my Columbo volumes while I was doing this. And there's one book that was just like, there's an actor in here called William Christopher, and that is not the William Christopher from MASH. And they were just like super adamant about that. And then I go to another one of the Columbo books, and it's, look for a guest appearance by William Christopher of MASH fame. And I'm like, okay, which is it? So I think it's the guy who said that it's not William Christopher of MASH, because I've gone through this episode several times and I'm not seeing him at all. And I think it's just another dude with the same name. I don't think it's a Gregory Sierra moment here.
I don't know if I could deal with another one of those. Don't claim he's in this and then not give us to him. I am so disappointed. But the William Christopher thing, that's billed incorrectly on IMDb then.
Jeez, that's just shocking that IMDb could be wrong.
Who would have ever thought? Not I, someone who uses it every day for things other than just randomly looking bullshit up.
If you go in and you try to correct it, it'll just be like, no, we won't admit that we're wrong. You don't know how many times I've tried to correct certain things on here.
No human being would make an error like this.
What do you mean there's a William Christopher 1 or 2? It's only William Christopher. Nobody else could have that name.
It's not like his name is Johnny Cash or anything.
At least we get to talk about some Johnny Cash in the next episode with Swan Song. That, even though I don't think that episode is the greatest in the world, I really liked that one when I was growing up. So I plan on doing some real soul singing during that episode, Chris.
I am excited. As excited as I was to talk about this episode, I think I'm more excited to talk about the next episode because There's a lot of weird things in that things that have I have not seen yet in Columbo that I am so excited to talk about, including but not limited to Johnny Cash doing weird hand gestures when he sings that I did not notice him doing any of. It's just a lot of weird shit going on. But Johnny Cash in an episode of Columbo can't be bad. Let's come back for that.
And another one directed by Coach from Cheers.
Not directed by Gordon Shumway of the planet Melmac. And Alf Cagellan. Okay.
Until we come back with that, Chris, what are you working on?
So a lot of audio nonsense over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where you can check out the Culture Cast, where I talk about movies once a week. But more importantly, over on Patreon, you and I and Richard Haddam, the internet's famous Richard Haddam, internet's famous crazy uncle Richard Haddam, the three of us are talking about Bond movies once a month over on both your Patreon and my Patreon, respectively, patreon.com/culturecast or patreon.com/ Yep. What about you, Mike? What's keeping you busy?
Yeah, that's definitely keeping me busy. I'm super excited to record our next episode of that. Hope to start listening to the book tomorrow, which hoping that the book is better than the movie. Let's just say that way.
Me too.
But yeah, doing the weekly Projection Booth podcast. And then we're talking with Father Malone. Oh gosh, are we doing this once every 2 weeks? Talking about Tales from the Dark Side now over on Midnight Viewing. So that is very exciting. Just wrapping up our night gallery discussion and now talking about Tales from the Dark Side.
We're always busy. We are always doing something. If people wonder what we're doing all the time, worry not. We're busy every night of the week. So bringing content to you via weirdingwaymedia.com.
Until we talk again next month, Chris, I want to thank John Walker for our opening theme and Colin Gallagher for our closing theme. And I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast. Give us those ratings and reviews out on your favorite podcast platform. It always helps grow the show. Being one of a dozen Columbo podcasts, it's not too easy, but we decided let's just add our voices to the fray.
Why not?
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.